Hello, welcome to my channel. I thought I had done a video on her already, and I've even had nightmares about it, but I guess I hadn't, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. We have missing Amy Lynn Bradley. Missing since it says March 24th, 1998. From Curacao, Netherlands, Antilles. For some reason I keep wanting to pronounce it Curacao, but it's Curacao, I guess. She was born in 1974. She was 23 years old at the time she went missing. She was born May 12, 1974. 5'6", 120 pounds, short brown hair, green eyes. 2.5-inch scar on her right shin. Tattoos of a Tasmanian Devil spinning a basketball on her back left shoulder. A Japanese sun on her lower back, a Chinese symbol on her right ankle, and a blue gecko lizard around her navel. She also has a navel ring and multiple ear piercings. And then it talks about her jewelry. She was reported missing in the early morning hours of March 24th, 1998. She was last seen by family members sitting on the balcony outside their cabin aboard the Rhapsody on the sea cruise ship. The ship was en route to Curacao, Antilles at the time Amy was last seen. The ship docked in Curacao shortly after she was discovered missing. Extensive searches on the ship and at sea have produced no signs of her whereabouts. She graduated from college in Virginia with a degree in physical education. She enjoyed playing basketball. She would have begun a job working with a computer company upon her return from the trip. She lived in Virginia at the time. And I don't know, this one's just so horrific that I've actually had nightmares about it, and I thought I'd done a video on it, and I guess I hadn't. And here's some images. And she was 23 years old at the time that she went missing. 5'7", 115 pounds. And then it shows images of, wow, some of the other people. So, Caucasian female, brown hair, green eyes, may dye her hair blonde, her ears are pierced multiple times, and her navel is pierced. She has the following tattoos, and it mentions them. And there's some other images you might want to pay attention to. She was vacationing with her parents and her brother aboard Royal Caribbean Cruise Line ship Rhapsody of the Seas during March 1998. She and her brother returned to their cabin at about 3:30 a.m. on March 24, 1998, after dancing at the ship's disco. They sat on their suite's balcony until about 5:30 a.m. Bradley's brother stayed in the cabin, while she mentioned possibly disembarking at Curacao in the Netherlands to purchase cigarettes. At 6 a.m., 2 other passengers on the ship saw her riding the elevator to the top deck. Bradley was last seen carrying her room key, cigarettes, and a lighter when she was last seen. They said last seen twice. She had $100 in her pocket as well. Rhapsody of the Seas was preparing to dock in Curacao's port at the time Bradley was last seen. Her family realized she was missing between approximately 6 a.m. and 6:30. The sliding glass door to the balcony was partway open, and a pair of Bradley's sandals were found inside of her suite, but there was no other sign of her. She had brought 9 other pairs of shoes with her on the trip. She has never been seen again. Her parents stated that they asked the ship's staff not to let anyone off the ship once they realized she was missing, but the staff lowered the gangplank anyway. The family searched Curacao for signs of her, but turned up nothing. Authorities are not certain if Bradley went ashore on Curacao of her own will and vanished while in port, or if other factors were at work. A cab driver later stated that she approached his cab and said she urgently needed a phone, but this sighting has not been confirmed. Her family believes that Bradley was coerced by unknown persons whom she befriended during the cruise and abducted. There are rumors of maritime pirates operating out of Curacao, and Bradley's loved ones believe that she may have been a victim of the individuals. Bradley was last seen in the ship's elevator with Yellow, a member of the cruise ship band Blue Orchard. It is not known if this person was involved in her disappearance, but there have been no arrests made in her case. Bradley also spent time with various waiters while on the cruise. Authorities do not believe that Bradley fell overboard, as Rhapsody of the Seas was extremely close to shore at the time of her disappearance. Witnesses would have undoubtedly heard or seen any accident. Bradley was also a strong swimmer and a trained lifeguard, and in any case, her body was not found when the water was searched. Investigators also determined that it is very unlikely that she chose to disappear of her own accord. She was a recent college graduate with a degree in physical education and was planning to start a new job at a computer consulting firm after returning from the cruise. There were possible sightings of her in Curacao in August 1998 and January 1999. The witness in the 1998 sighting accurately described her tattoos, and the witness in the 1999 sighting said she identified herself by name and asked for help. Bradley's parents therefore believe the sightings are authentic. In March of 2005, a woman resembling Bradley was seen in Barbados. Sketches of the unidentified woman and her male companion are posted in the case summary. The Barbados woman has not been conclusively identified as Bradley. Authorities believe two men may have information about Bradley's disappearance. Sketches of both subjects are posted with this case summary. One of the men is described as Caucasian in his late 30s or early 40s, between 5'11" and 6 foot tall, with a receding hairline, red hair, and a beard. The other man was in his early 30s, approximately 5'11" tall, with dark, curly, shoulder-length hair. Neither person has been identified. Bradley was a resident of Chesterfield County, Virginia, at the time of her 1998 disappearance. She attended college in Longwood, Virginia, on a basketball scholarship. She smoked Marlboro cigarettes at the time she was last seen. She enjoys drinking Coca-Cola and Miller Lite beer and eats hard candy. Foul play is suspected in her disappearance, but there is no evidence to support this theory, and I think there's plenty of evidence. And there's the images of the people. I wish I could mouse over it and zoom in on them. And here is the Wikipedia. And I'm just going to skim through it. I don't want to read it all. It just says she was an American woman who went missing during a Caribbean cruise on the Royal Caribbean International cruise ship Rhapsody of the Seas, late March 1998, at the age of 23, while en route to Curacao. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right now. I keep wanting to say Curacao. Her whereabouts remain unknown to this day. She was a 23-year-old Longwood University graduate at the time of her disappearance. After midnight, March 23, 1998, Amy and her younger brother headed to the ship's nightclub to go dancing. Records show Brad decided to return to his cabin earlier than she did. The ship's door lock records show that Brad had entered his cabin around 3:35 a.m., and Amy soon followed 5 minutes later. The two chatted before heading to bed. Amy's father, Ron, awoke around 6 a.m. to check on his daughter, only to find her missing from the balcony she earlier slept on. And I swear I did a video on this and read it already. While authorities were alerted that Amy was missing, the Netherlands Antilles Coast Guard conducted a 4-day search in the surrounding waters and along the cruise lines to no result. Authorities began to speculate that she may have fallen overboard and drowned, but investigators have rejected this theory, as she was a strong swimmer and there was no sign of her. There have been possible sightings of her in Curacao. I don't know if I'm saying that right. In August 1998, tourists saw a woman resembling her on a beach. And in 1998, a member of the U.S. Navy claimed a woman in a brothel said she was Bradley and asked him for help. And to me, things like that, she's asking these people for help. And the fact that she didn't get any help and that they still haven't, that's horrific to me. That's, here she is crying out for help and nobody's helping her and nobody's saving her. And to me, that's just horrific. In the years after her disappearance, there would arise some new evidence leading to theories including Amy being sold into a human traffic industry or potential remains. The case has been presented on Dr. Phil in a segment entitled The Search for Natalie, Amy Bradley. The case was also presented on America's Most Wanted. Wow. And they still haven't found her. Amy Lynn Bradley was born May 12, 1974, Petersburg, Virginia. She was a resident of Chesterfield County, Virginia. She attended a local university, Longwood University. She graduated with a degree in physical education. She attended with a scholarship in basketball and was known for her strong swimming abilities, as well as having previously worked as a lifeguard. You have to have a lot of strength to be able to be a lifeguard. You have to pass tests and everything. Amy was planning to start a new job at a computer consulting firm after she graduated the university. I've known people that have taken the lifeguard test that were male and said how hard it was to pass it. As a celebrity, as a celebratory event, Amy decided to join her family on a cruise on the Royal Caribbean International cruise ship, the Rhapsody. En route for Curacao, a Dutch Caribbean island under the Kingdom of the Netherlands. On March 21st, 1998, Amy and her family boarded the cruise. Prior to the time of her disappearance, her and her brother decided to stay up late, dancing in the Mardi Gras nightclub party on the ship and drink alcohol with the ship's band, Blue Orchard. One of the band members, Alistair Douglas, otherwise known as Yellow, was drinking with Amy that night, where he claimed that he left the party at around 1 a.m. At the time, a videographer known as Charles Fenwick was also able to capture the moment where Amy and Yellow were dancing. After a couple of hours, Brad decided to rest for the rest of the night at the family cabin. At around 3:35 a.m., the ship's computerized door lock system recorded that Brad returned to the cabin 3:35, and Amy followed 5 minutes later. Brad reported that he and his sister sat on the suite's balcony and talked before he went to sleep, while Amy stayed awake for a while longer before she fell asleep shortly after. Between the times of 5:15 a.m. and 5:30 a.m., Amy's father woke up and he went to check on her, and he saw she was still sleeping on the lounge chair of their cabin's balcony. He told the local papers he could see Amy's legs from her hips down. He dozed back off to sleep. The balcony door was closed because if I hadn't closed it, I would have gotten up and closed it, he said. Oh, I thought it was open. Okay, so when he got up at 6 a.m., however, she was missing along with her cigarettes and her lighter. So how did they get the door open to take her? Did she walk out? Because she had cigarettes and a lighter. He said, I left to try and go up and find her. When I couldn't find her, I didn't really know what to think because it was very much unlike her to leave and not tell anybody where she was going. After he searched the common areas of the cruise, he woke up the rest of the family and told them she was missing at 6:30 a.m. So he noticed right away that she was missing. Amy's family immediately reported that she was missing to the onboard crew, where they continued to plead with the crew members to keep the 2,000 passengers from disembarking the cruise and to make an announcement to help them find her. However, the team at the purser's office informed them that it was too early to make a shipwide announcement. The crew agreed to issue an announcement at around 8 a.m. after a majority of the passengers left the ship, announcing, will Amy Bradley please come to the purser's deck. Between 12:15 p.m. and 1 p.m., the cruise staff searched through the ship but could not find Amy. Because if somebody had drugged her and taken her off, they could have taken her off the ship, in a suitcase or anything, or somehow. I don't know how, but the 2,000 people. The delay that the crew put on the search and investigation of the disappearance has been said to have led to lowering the chance of finding her by allowing the passengers to disembark, ignoring her family. So the Dutch Caribbean Coast Guard conducted a 4-day search, and they didn't find anything. And that's horrific, because here's her family noticing right away that she's missing and trying to make sure nothing happens to her. But nothing can be done. They're like, it's like being stopped, And the authorities suspected that Amy had either fallen overboard or committed suicide. Well, that's just silly. However, this was soon discredited as Amy was known to be a strong swimmer. Her body was never found. So, on the morning of the disappearance, 2 passengers told Ron that they saw a woman matching her description taking an elevator to the ship's deck with cigarettes and a lighter. However, this did not lead to any findings. Another witness was a cab driver where he stated that a woman matching her description approached him and said she urgently needed a phone. This sighting was never confirmed by authorities. August 1998, a Canadian computer engineering claimed to have seen Amy walking down with men on a beach in Curacao 5 months after the disappearance was made public. The witness noticed that the woman was constantly trying to get his attention until he lost sight of her at a nearby cafe. The woman's tattoos were reportedly identical to hers, and the man said he was just 2 feet away from her and he was sure it was her with complete certainty. And that's why I have nightmares about this. That's just horrific. Because here she is trying to get his attention. She's trying to be saved, and no. In January 1999, a U.S. Navy petty officer claimed to have seen a woman who claimed to be her at a brothel. He claimed she told him that her name was Amy Bradley, and she begged him for help, explaining that she was held against her will and not allowed to leave. And he did not report the incident earlier as he feared for his career in the Navy of having been in the brothel. And to me, that's horrific too. He could have saved her right then and there. He could have saved her, and she's crying out for help, but he's afraid he's going to get in trouble, so he doesn't save her. So the witness only contacted Amy's family after he retired and saw her picture in a magazine. There is no evidence to support his claim. There was another potential sighting in March of 2005 when a witness named Judy Marr claimed to have seen Bradley in a department store restroom in Barbados. She claimed a woman entered the restroom accompanied by 3 men who proceeded to threaten her if she did not follow through on a deal. She alleges that after the men left, she approached the distraught woman who said that her first name was Amy and that she was from Virginia before the men re-entered and took her away. Marr called authorities, and they created composite sketches of the 3 men and the woman based on her account. In more recent years, Amy's case has been revisited a couple of times. The cold case has resurfaced on America's Most Wanted and an episode of Dr. Phil. In 1999, her parents received an email from a self-proclaimed Navy SEAL soldier, Frank Jones. Frank told the family that he was a former U.S. Special Officer with a team of experienced soldiers who might be able to rescue her. Jones had claimed that his team had seen Amy being held heavily armed Colombian personnel in a housing complex surrounded by barbed wire. The team also gave accurate description of Amy's tattoos and sang the lullaby that Amy's mother used to sing to Amy. How did they know the lullaby? Over the next few months, Frank would feed news to the family and provide reports on sightings of their daughter. When Jones told them they were going to attempt a rescue, he added that more funds were needed. So then he had him give them all this money trying to save their daughter that they probably could have spent to try to go look for her themselves, and had expected a call from Jones and his team of the rescue mission that never came. He made the story up and to scam them. But how did he know the lullaby? In February 2002, federal prosecutors in Richmond charged him, and he got 5 years in prison. He got 5 years in prison, but he's stalling, trying to get her help and risking her life and her safety and putting her family through sheer hell, and he got 5 years in prison. Another incident involved the finding of a jawbone that washed up ashore in Aruba in 2010. Initially, they thought it to be the jawbone of another missing persons case, Natalie Hollowell, but once the jawbone was cleared of Hollowell, authorities ceased any further testing despite the fact that there were 9 other Caribbean vacationers that were said to be missing. Why would they stop doing that? No DNA test was done on the material. They said that the bone is human and was likely from a Caucasian origin. Why would they stop? Bradley's mother and father appeared On November 17, 2005, of Dr. Phil, an image of the young woman resembling Bradley that was emailed to her parents was shown on their program, and it suggested that she might have been sold into sexual slavery. An email was sent to Bradley family website containing 2 photographs of a woman that closely resembled her. The photographs were observed by a member of an organization that attempts to track victims. The woman in the photo has been said to appear distraught and despondent and was a sex worker known as Jazz, Jas. There are some theories that are circulating the internet in regard to the disappearance of Amy Lynn Bradley. One of these theories is that she was kidnapped and sold into the illegal human trafficking industry in the Caribbean. The theory is supported by various sources of evidence, including a key witness from a U.S. Navy officer claiming that he heard a worker in a brothel claiming to be Amy, and a 2005 photo that was emailed to her family. Another piece of evidence would include inconsistencies of the witness of the night of the disappearance. In People's Magazine, Amy's mother stated, "I remember watching people watching her admiringly," and later goes on to say Amy would have been a trophy. This theory also includes suspicions of the staff band members of the cruise on the night of the disappearance. One of these suspicions include the inconsistent stories that the band member Yellow presented to the authorities as opposed to what CCTV has captured that night. Many people suspect that a waiter was also involved with the disappearance. Throughout the night, Amy's family was approached by the same waiter asking to pass on a note to Amy for him, involving an invitation for her to go drinking with him once they reached shore. In addition, the professional photographer had printed out all the photos taken throughout the cruise to sell at a stall, but the family could not find any of Amy's photos, making them think that the photos had been removed by somebody. Oh. Another theory authorities considered was that Amy was murdered on the ship and thrown overboard. However, the only evidence supporting this is the discovery of a jawbone which washed ashore. The final theory includes Amy falling. Yeah, I don't think she fell. Amy was legally declared dead March 24, 2010, 12 years after the disappearance, with no witness and no body found. So she could still be alive out there somewhere. When was she born? She could still be alive, you know. She was born in 1974. So she'd be, what, 50 years old? But she could still be alive out there somewhere. I don't know. The FBI is currently offering a reward up to $25,000 for any information. So there's a $25,000 reward for any information that could lead to her recovery or leads to an arrest or conviction of the person or persons, people responsible for her disappearance. On top of this, the family is awarding $250,000 for information leading to her safe return. And the family also has a reward of $50,000 for information leading to her current location. So, wow, it's so sad. And there's people out there that know things, because if that many people saw her, there's other people that know things that saw her. Because if she reached out to those people, she reached out to other people. And there's people out there, and they know things. And hopefully, so her family has no closure. They don't know what happened to her or nothing. And it's horrific. It's just horrific. Like I said, I've had nightmares about this. I thought I did a video on it, and I've just had nightmares. The FBI is offering $25,000 for information leading to the recovery of her, and information that leads to the identification, arrest, and conviction of the person or people responsible. They have places where you can submit tips. $25,000 is a lot of money. If you know something, you should submit a tip. Somebody needs to come forward. And this is a picture that they think is her, that was taken, that they believe is her. It looks like it because it's everywhere. That must be, maybe that's, I don't know if that's a picture that they were emailed or where that picture came from. But I feel like there's people out there that know what happened to her. There's people out there that know who took her, know who sold her, and might have even known who ended up with her or what happened to her, if that's what happened. You know, they know who was involved in what happened. And I really hope that they come forward. I really do. Because this is so sad and so horrific. Anyway, don't forget to pray for her family and her loved ones. And thank you so much for tuning in. Please feel free to leave comments and have a blessed day. Bye-bye.